The cry for help the stars were quiet, but silence in space often meant danger. Far away, on a small green world named Tovan, life was ending. The people of Tovan were farmers, healers, and dreamers. They were not warriors. For centuries, they had lived in peace under the bright twin suns. Their children played in the fields. Their elders told stories of old heroes. But that peace shattered when the sky turned red. From the void, the Drexian warships appeared. Cruel, merciless, hungry for conquest. The Drexians were known across the galaxy as raiders who destroyed without reason. They wanted slaves, resources, and fear. Tovan had no army. Its people had no weapons. The invasion began with fire. Villages burned. Cities fell. The Tovan people cried for help. Their voices carried through ancient transmitters that had not been touched in generations. Their signal was desperate, broken, and full of fear. Please, anyone, help us. Save us. We are dying. The message repeated again and again, bouncing through the dark like a whisper in a storm. For days, no one answered. The great Galactic Council ignored it. To them, Tovan was small, unimportant, and weak. The empires of the stars only acted when power or profit was involved. To save Tovan meant risking war with the Drexians, and no one was willing. So the people of Tovan continued to die. Mothers shielded their children. Fathers fought with farming tools, falling one by one. Elders prayed under the smoking ruins. Still, the signal went out, each word trembling, filled with tears. And then, it reached a place no one expected. Far beyond the Council's reach. Hidden among the dark arms of the Milky Way, there was a planet most of the galaxy had forgotten. A planet once mocked, once feared, and long left alone. That world was Earth. The signal hit the antennas of an Earth outpost orbiting Jupiter. At first, the humans thought it was just static. Then the voice came through again. Please, anyone, help us. Save us. We are dying. In the command room, silence fell. The officers listened, their eyes cold, their jaws tight. Humans understood desperation. Their own history was carved from wars, betrayals, and the endless fight to survive. They knew the sound of prey cornered by predators. The commander of the outpost, Captain Elena Ward, stood slowly. Trace it, she ordered. Find out where it came from. Minutes later, the computers gave the answer. A distant farming colony on the edge of Drexian space. Her officers looked at her in shock. One whispered, Captain, that's Drexian territory. If we answer, we'll be starting a war. Elena's face was hard as steel. And if we don't? She asked quietly. No one spoke. The humans remembered their own past, how once, long ago, Earth had cried for help, and no one had come. They remembered burning cities, fallen heroes, and the silence of the stars. Humanity had learned one thing from all of it. Never ignore a cry for help. Within hours, the message had traveled across the human fleet. Soldiers sharpened their blades. Pilots checked their ships. Generals whispered to one another. Are we doing this? Are we really going into Drexian space? And the answer came like thunder. Yes. For humanity was no longer just a species. They were predators, apex hunters born on a Deathworld, shaped by fire and chaos. And when prey cried out in fear, predators answered. Back on Tovan, the people huddled in the ruins of their last city. The Drexians marched through the streets, laughing as they dragged prisoners away. The sky was filled with smoke, the ground with blood. The Tovan looked to the heavens, hoping, praying, but seeing nothing. One child whispered to her mother, "No one is coming." But then far above the smoke-filled clouds a light appeared, a single streak of fire crossing the sky. Then another, and another. The Drexians turned their heads, frowning. They were not expecting visitors. The Tovan lifted their eyes. Hope. Flickering in their tears dot, and across the sky, a human fleet arrived. The signal had been heard. The hunters had come. The arrival of Deathworlders. Drexians stood in silence as fire streaks cut across the night sky. At first, they thought it was debris-burning pieces of Tovan cities falling back to the ground. But these streaks grew brighter, sharper, and then they slowed ships, not council ships, not merchants, not the weak allies who usually begged for treaties before they acted. These ships were heavy, black against the stars, their engines roaring like storms. The Tovan had never seen such vessels. Their hulls were not polished silver or covered in glowing banners. They were scarred, armored, and built for one purpose: survival through war. The first Drexian commander laughed. Earth? Impossible. Humans don't fight outside their borders. He sneered, his sharp teeth glinting. And if they do, we will crush them as we always have. But the laughter ended when the lead human warship appeared above the burning city. It was massive, shaped like a predator's blade. Its guns turned slowly, silently, as if choosing prey. Then, across every Drexian channel, a voice spoke. Calm, cold, unshaken. This is the Terran fleet. Stand down. Leave now, or be hunted. The Drexians froze. They were raiders, killers, masters of fear. No one had ever spoken to them like that. But before they could reply, the human ship moved. It didn't wait for negotiation. It struck. In a flash. The human ship's cannons lit up the night. A Drexian dropship exploded mid-air, its wreckage raining down into the burning streets. A second fell seconds later. The humans had not fired wildly. Every shot was exact, like claws striking the throat of prey. The Tovan people gasped. Hope. Stirred again, fragile but alive. The Drexians roared in anger. Their fleet pulled into formation above the planet, engines blazing. Dozens of ships armed and ready. Their commander growled, Destroy them. Show these humans what happens when they enter our space. And the battle began. From the ground, the Tovan watched the sky erupt with light. Red and blue fire streaked. Across the heavens, explosions painted the clouds. The Drexians outnumbered the humans 3-1, but something was wrong. Something was different. The humans fought like predators. They did not retreat. They did not scatter. Their ships moved like a hunting pack, fast, sharp, coordinated. One Drexian ship chased a lone Terran cruiser, only to be caught in a crossfire from two more hidden in the dark. Another Drexian battleship turned its guns, but the humans were already behind it, tearing it apart. Every human movement was precise, instinctive, ruthless. On the ground, Captain Elena Ward watched from her command screen. Her officers called. Out targets, enemy positions, tactical numbers. But she already knew. She could feel it in her bones. The humans were not fighting a battle. They were hunting. The Drexians realized too late. Their fleet was strong, but they were used to prey that ran. They had never fought predators that chased them back. Ships exploded one after another. The sky became a graveyard of Drexian metal. On the surface, Drexian soldiers panicked. Without, their fleet above, their courage broke. The humans were coming for them, and even the raiders knew what that meant. A Tovan elder, her voice shaking, whispered as she saw the human ships move like shadows through the stars. They are not saviors. They are hunters. And she was right. The Terran fleet pressed forward, tearing apart the Drexian line. But humans did not fight only to destroy. They fought to protect. Dropships descended through the smoke, landing in the ruins of the Tovan. City-human soldiers stepped out. Tall, armored, faces hidden behind dark visors. Their weapons were not for show. They were brutal, efficient. But what shocked the Tovan most was not the weapons. It was the way the humans moved. They moved like beasts on the prowl. Every step was careful, every glance scanning. The Drexians, who had once seemed unstoppable, now looked like cornered animals. The leader of the Terran soldiers raised her rifle. Her voice carried through the translator, steady and cold. "We heard your cry. We're here now. You are under our protection." The Tovan trembled. Some wept. Others could only stare in silence. The Drexians snarled in rage, rallying for one last charge. But when they rushed, the humans did not retreat. They stood their ground. Guns barked, blades flashed, and the streets filled with fire once more. This time, it was the Drexians who fell. One by one, the invaders collapsed. The survivors fled into the dark, leaving behind their dead and their broken pride. When the smoke cleared, the Tovan saw the humans for the first time, not as monsters, not as myths, but as something far greater. Predators who had chosen to protect. Above them, the human fleet circled the planet, silent. Watching Dock Captain Elena Ward stood on her ship's bridge, staring at the stars. She knew this was only the beginning. The Drexians would not forgive. The Council would not understand. But she also knew something else. The galaxy had just seen Earth's teeth, and once predators bite, they never let go. Asterisk, asterisk. Predators unleashed. The ruins of Tovan still smoked. The ground was littered with Drexian corpses, their armor cracked, their weapons scattered. The Tovan stood in silence, unable to believe what had happened. Hours before, they were prey. Now, the predators of Earth stood before them. But the war was not finished. High above the planet, the surviving Drexian fleet gathered. Dozens of warships circled like vultures, preparing for another strike. Their commander, Admiral Korvik, growled at his officers. "Humans are nothing," he spat. "Primitive Deathworld beasts. They fight like animals, loud, violent, without control. We will crush them with numbers. Prepare the charge." But Admiral Korvik did not understand. Humans did not fight like animals. They fought as predators. Inside the Terran flagship Vanguard, Captain Elena Ward stood on the bridge. The reports from the ground scrolled across her screen. Tovan survivors secured. Drexians retreating to orbit. Human soldiers ready. Her second officer whispered, "Captain, they still outnumber us 3-1. We should pull back before they surround us." Elena's eyes never left the screen. Her voice was calm, sharp, and final. No, they wanted a hunt. Let's give them one. She activated fleet-wide comms. Across every human ship, every soldier, every pilot heard the order. Terrans, hunt. The galaxy had seen battles before. Fleets colliding, lasers flashing, endless ships exchanging fire until one side broke. But this was different. The Terran fleet did not stand in a line or wait for commands from a council. They moved like a pack of wolves. One human destroyer shot forward, feigning weakness, drawing 3 Drexian cruisers in pursuit. But it was bait. 2 Terran frigates appeared from the dark, ripping the Drexian ships apart from both sides. Another Terran battleship cut its engines, letting enemy fire streak past harmlessly. Then it reignited, spinning like a predator striking from cover, tearing through the blind spot of its prey. Every move was instinct. Every attack was lethal. The Drexians were larger, but size meant nothing when every human strike was aimed at. The the Tovan people watched from the surface, their faces turned upward. The sky lit with fire, but this time the fire burned their enemies. Children clutched their mothers' hands. Elders whispered prayers, not for salvation, but in awe of the hunters above. Inside his command ship, Admiral Korvik slammed his fist against the console. How? How are they tearing us apart?" An officer hesitated, trembling. "Sir, they don't fight like soldiers. They fight like—" Like what?" Corvick roared. The officer swallowed hard. "Like predators, sir. They don't just attack. They chase." Corvick turned toward the battlefield, and for the first time in his long, bloody career, he felt fear. On the vanguard, Alana's face was lit by the glow of battle. Her crew worked in silence, no panic, no hesitation. She whispered to herself, "Now they see. Now the galaxy remembers what Earth truly is." The humans pressed the attack. Drexian ships tried to retreat, but the Terrans followed, striking at engines, cutting off escape. It was not a battle anymore. It was a hunt, and the prey had nowhere to run. One by one, Drexian voices screamed across comms before going silent forever. The galaxy had called humans Deathworlders, a word spoken with fear and disgust. But in this moment, the truth was revealed. Deathworlders were not victims of their world. They were its masters. And now, those masters had taken their place among the stars. On the surface, human soldiers advanced through the last Drexian holdouts. Their armor gleamed under the firelight, their movements silent and precise. A young Tovan boy, his clothes torn, stared at one of the Terran soldiers as she reloaded her weapon. "Are you gods?" the boy whispered. The soldier looked down, visor reflecting the boy's wide eyes. Her voice was quiet, steady. "No, we're hunters, and the hunt is not over." When the last Drexian ship exploded in orbit, silence fell across the battlefield. The Tovan wept. Some knelt and touched the ground, thanking their ancestors. Others simply stared upward, unable to process the miracle they had seen. But on every other world across the galaxy, the story spread like fire. The Tovan cried for help. The Council ignored them. The empires turned away. But Earth answered. And Earth did not come with diplomats. Not Earth came with predators. On her bridge, Elena Ward gave the final command. "Signal to all fleets. Mark this system as protected. If the Drexians return, we return harder." Her officer hesitated. "Captain, what do we tell the Tovan?" Elena turned, her eyes cold but resolute. "Tell them this. When you cry for help, remember who answered. And remember what comes when predators hunt." That night, the galaxy learned a new truth. Humans did not just fight wars. They ended them. And the Drexians had just become prey. Asterisk. The fear spreads the Drexian fleet was gone. The ruins of Tovan were quiet now, filled only with smoke and silence. But across the galaxy, the silence did not last. Whispers traveled faster than light. Earth has returned. The predators walk the stars again. The Deathworlders hunt among us. On trading stations, merchants spoke in hushed tones. In council chambers, politicians argued in fear. In the shadows of empires, warlords drank in silence, their claws tapping nervously against steel tables. No one had expected humans to answer the cry for help, and no one had expected them to fight like that. The galaxy remembered Earth as the small, unstable world, a planet marked by endless wars, disasters, and survival against impossible odds. Many believed the humans would destroy themselves before ever reaching the stars. But the survivors of Tovan told a different story. Elder Vela, her voice trembling, sat before a recording device. The humans had given her food, shelter, and medical aid, but her eyes still burned with what she had seen. They did not fight like soldiers, she whispered, her words spreading across every news net in the quadrant. They fought like hunters. The Drexians were many. The humans were few. But when the hunters came, the prey fell. Her words shook the galaxy. In the great halls of the Galactic Council, ambassadors argued until their voices cracked. "This is dangerous," one alien shouted. "Deathworlders should never have been allowed to build fleets." Another ambassador slammed his claws on the table. You call it dangerous. I call it necessary. The Drexians raided our colonies for years. Who stopped them? Not us. Not the Council. It was the humans. The Council leader, a tall insectoid, hissed in frustration. Humans do not protect, they conquer. Today, they saved the Tovan. Tomorrow, they may claim the stars themselves. But none could ignore the truth. The Council had ignored the cry for help. Earth had answered Dot, and Earth had answered with teeth. On pirate stations, rumors spread like fire. Captains whispered over dark comms, warning each other. Don't raid near Terran space. Don't touch the colonies under human protection. If they come for you, you won't escape. Some laughed, calling it fear-mongering. But those who had seen the destruction of the Drexian fleet did not laugh. They stayed silent, eyes haunted. Meanwhile, on the Terran flagship Vanguard, Captain Elena Ward stood at her viewport. The stars stretched endlessly before her, quiet and beautiful, hiding the whispers that now echoed across the galaxy. Her second officer approached. Captain, the Council has demanded an explanation for our actions on Tovan. Elena's gaze stayed on the stars. Let them demand. We don't need their approval. The officer hesitated. And the Tovan? They call us saviors now? Elena finally turned, her eyes sharp as steel. We are not saviors. We are hunters. And the galaxy needs to understand that difference. Back on Tovan, the people began rebuilding. Children painted human warships on broken walls. Priests whispered prayers, naming Earth alongside their ancient gods. Farmers planted seeds again, this time under the shadow of Terran banners left. Behind is a warning to the Drexians, a promise to the Tovan. But far away, in the Drexian capital, the rage was burning. Admiral Korvik, one of the few survivors, stood before his emperor. His armor was scorched, his pride broken. They are not weak, he admitted, his voice low. The humans are predators. They hunt us as we once hunted others. The Drexian emperor leaned forward, his eyes burning. Then we will show them what it means to hunt true prey. We will gather every ship, every soldier, every weapon. We will erase Earth from the stars. The court roared in approval. But beneath the roar, some Drexians felt the same cold fear Korvik had felt in battle. Because deep inside, they knew predators were not so easy to kill. On neutral worlds, the debate continued. Some feared Earth. Some admired them. But everyone agreed on one truth. The galaxy had changed. No longer was Earth ignored, dismissed, or forgotten. Now, Earth was a name spoken with caution. And behind every whisper was the same question. What happens when the predators are unleashed again? On the Vanguard, Elena stood alone at the viewport, whispering the answer only to herself. They'll learn. One cry for help was enough to wake us. The galaxy will never sleep the same again. And outside, the stars watched in silence, knowing. The hunters of Earth had returned, and their shadows stretched across the galaxy. Asterisk. The retaliation, unique, suspenseful, approximately 850 to 900 words, written in third person. Simple English. The galaxy did not have to wait long. The Drexians wanted revenge. Only weeks after their defeat at Tovan, dark space stirred with new fleets. They came not as raiders this time, but as an army. Thousands of ships gathered, cruisers, dreadnoughts, carriers, all burning with the same command. Find the humans, crush them, erase them. Inside the Drexian War Council chamber, Admiral Korvik stood before his emperor again. His wounds were not healed, but his pride demanded blood. We underestimated them, Korvik growled. We thought humans weak. We were wrong, but now we are many. They cannot hunt all of us. The emperor leaned forward, eyes glowing with rage. You speak of predators. Then let us drown the predators in prey, too many to kill. We will hunt the hunters. The chamber roared. But fear still lingered, like a shadow no one dared name. The first strike came at Velro Station, a neutral hub where dozens of species traded. The Drexian fleet arrived without warning. They tore through defenses, destroyed ships in port, and enslaved hundreds. The Council did nothing. The neutral worlds trembled. But Earth listened. On the Terran flagship Vanguard, Captain Elena Ward studied the reports. Flames and smoke rose from Velros. Survivors begged for help across the COMMS. Her second officer whispered, "Captain, if we answer, we declare open war with the Drexian Empire." Elena's jaw tightened. Her reply was cold, sharp, final. War has already been declared. The Drexians just don't understand it yet. Hours later, the dark of space split open. Terran fleet arrived. No warning. No negotiation. Predators do not announce themselves. The Drexians expected a straight fight, lines of ships exchanging fire. But once again, the humans fought differently. From Velros survivors watching below, it looked like chaos. Terran ships darted through enemy lines, never holding still, never waiting. But there was no chaos. Every move was planned. Every strike was a throat bite. A Drexian dreadnought launched fighters. Human gunships rose from the void, cutting through them in silence. A Drexian carrier turned to retreat. 3 Terran cruisers encircled it, striking at weak points until the massive ship crumbled. And above all, the Vanguard hunted the largest. Prey, tearing apart ships twice its size. On the ground, survivors of Velros stared upward. One young alien, his scales shimmering with ash, whispered to his mother, "They came. They really came." His mother trembled, tears running down her face. "The predators, they came for us." Inside his command ship, Korvik roared in anger. The humans should have been broken. But instead, they were everywhere, their fleet, moving with terrifying unity. "They don't fight like prey," one of his officers stammered. "They don't even fight like prey pretending to be predators. They fight like—" Korvik's eyes widened, the words he feared most filling his mind. "They fight like the apex. The hunt belongs to them." Back on the Vanguard, Elena watched. Another Drexian ship fall apart under Terran fire. Her crew cheered, but her face remained calm, unreadable. "Mark their retreat vectors," she ordered. "They'll run soon, and when they run, we chase." The officer hesitated. "Captain, if we chase, we'll enter Drexian territory." Elena's voice was a whisper of steel. "Then we hunt them home." By the end of the battle, Velros Station was free. The Drexian fleet had lost half its ships. The rest fleeing in panic. Survivors poured out, some weeping, some kneeling. Across the galaxy, the message spread again. The Council did nothing. The empires did nothing. But Earth answered. And yet, far away in the Drexian capital, the Emperor's rage burned brighter. His fleets were strong, his armies endless. But he understood now. This would not be a short war. This would be a hunt. And in every hunt, only one predator survives. Hunters in the shadows. The Drexian Empire had thousands of ships. But ships are useless when they cannot find the enemy. For weeks after Velros, the galaxy watched in silence. The Drexian fleet regrouped, patrolling every border, searching the stars. They thought humans would meet them head-on in another grand battle. But the humans did not come. At least, not where the Drexians expected. It began with whispers. A Drexian supply convoy vanished in the outer rim. Then, a communications hub went dark. Later, entire fuel depots exploded in flames, their wreckage drifting through space. At first, Drexian commanders blamed pirates. But pirates did not leave messages. Painted across ruined hulls in black, burning letters was one word: hunted. Inside, the Terran flagship Vanguard, Captain Alana Ward, stood over a holographic map. Red Drexian supply routes glowed across the galaxy. Each one pulsed with weakness. Waiting for Teeth Dot, her fleet officers watched her in silence. "We don't need to fight their armadas," Elena said. "We bleed them. Every convoy, every depot, every supply ship. The Drexians think they are lions." She looked up, her eyes sharp as blades. "Let's show them what happens when lions starve." The Terran fleet split into smaller packs. Destroyers hunted in pairs. Frigates struck like vipers. Carriers unleashed silent drones that moved through the void like shadows. The Drexians never knew whether humans would strike. Patrol in Sector 17 reported nothing unusual. Minutes later, their engines went dark, sabotaged by human infiltrators. A fleet guarding a mining world received a distress signal from their own allies, only to discover too late that the message was human deception. And when the Drexians tried to chase the humans, the Terrans disappeared into black space, leaving only wreckage behind. For the first time in centuries, the Drexian Empire felt fear not from fleets, not from armies, but from silence, because silence meant the humans were close. Across neutral worlds, the legend grew. Merchants whispered that Terrans moved like shadows, striking at will, leaving nothing behind but wrecks and fear. Children of the Tovan painted their faces with hunter markings, pretending to be the humans who had saved them. Pirates began leaving Terran-protected routes untouched, terrified of what might come from the dark. And slowly, the galaxy understood. Humans did not fight for conquest. They fought to hunt Dot inside the Drexian capital. Emperor Varkos slammed his claws against the war table. "They hide like vermin. They shame us with tricks." Admiral Korvik, his face scarred from Tovan, shook his head. His voice was low, bitter. "No, my Emperor. They are not vermin. They are hunters. Every move is planned. Every strike is chosen. They bleed us because they know one truth." "And what truth is that?" The Emperor hissed. Korvik's eyes burned. "That fear kills faster than weapons." Meanwhile, on the Vanguard, Elena watched another report. A massive Drexian depot destroyed. Thousands of soldiers starving on the front. Fleets unable to move without fuel. Her second officer frowned. "Captain, some call us saviors now. Others call us monsters. What are we to them?" Elena was silent for a moment. Then she turned, her voice steady, heavy with truth. "To prey, we are monsters. To the hunted, we are saviors. But to ourselves, we are simply what Earth made us." Her hand pressed against the glass, watching the endless dark. "We are predators. And predators don't stop until the hunt is done." By the end of the month, a truth echoed across every world. The Drexians had armies. The Drexians had fleets. But Earth had hunters. And hunters had patience. That night, in the shadows of the galaxy, the Drexians prepared for one last gamble. Gather. Every fleet, every ship, and strike directly at Earth itself. But in their rage, they forgot one lesson. The hunters were already waiting. Asterisk. Apex of the hunt, the Drexians could not take it anymore. Their convoys burned. Their depots vanished. Their soldiers starved. The whispers of fear spread through every fleet. Drexian warriors who once roared with pride now woke in the night, claws shaking, certain that somewhere in the dark, human eyes were watching. Finally, the Emperor made his choice. "All fleets gather," he commanded. "Every dreadnought, every cruiser, every gun. We will crush Earth itself. The predators will learn what prey can do when united." And so, 9,000 Drexian warships left their borders, roaring toward Earth. On the Terran flagship Vanguard, Captain Alana Ward listened to the reports. Her officers stood tense. Earth itself was the target now. Billions of lives hung in the balance, but Elena only gave a thin smile. "They want to hunt us," she said softly. "Let them come. The hunt ends here." When the Drexian armada reached Sol, they found not fear, not chaos, but silence. Earth floated below, calm and blue, as if waiting. Then the shadows moved. From behind moons, asteroids, and the black of space, the Terran fleet appeared. Thousands of ships, hidden until now. Warships the galaxy had never seen. Engines burning like suns. The humans had not been running. They had been preparing. The battle began. The Drexian armada roared forward, confident in their numbers. But numbers meant nothing against hunters. Terran ships moved in packs, tearing apart cruisers. Drones swarmed like living storms, slipping through defenses. Carriers released wave after wave of stealth craft, striking at weak points the Drexians. Never knew existed Dot, and above it all, the vanguard cut through dreadnoughts like a blade through flesh dot from Earth below. Billions watched. On every screen, they saw their fleet fight not like defenders, not like victims, but like predators unleashed. Children cheered. Soldiers wept. Elders whispered the words now spoken across the galaxy. Earth remembers. Inside his command, ship Emperor Varkos screamed orders. "Hold the line. Crush them. You are Drexians." But his fleets broke apart. For every Terran ship destroyed, 5 Drexians fell. Every tactic was answered. Every weapon countered Dot because the humans had studied the hunt. And now they were the hunters at the top. Dot. The end came when Elena Ward gave one final order. All ships surround, tighten the circle. The Terran fleet moved as one. The Drexians, once predators themselves, now found themselves trapped. Circle closed. The prey became prey. And then silence. The Drexian armada was gone. Across the galaxy, the news spread like wildfire. The empire that once terrified worlds had been broken, not by the Council, not by other empires, but by the planet once called fragile, unstable, doomed. Dot by Earth. The crew erupted in cheers, but Elena Ward did not smile. She stood at the viewport, watching the ruins of the Drexian fleet drift in the void. Her second officer approached quietly. "Captain, it's over." Elena shook her head. "No, the hunt never ends. Today it was Drexians. Tomorrow it may be someone else. But the galaxy will remember what Earth truly is." She turned, her voice sharp, steady, carrying the weight of a predator's truth. "We are the apex, and the apex does not bow." Back on Tovan, children painted Terran warships on their walls again, this time not as saviors, but as guardians. On Velros Station, survivors named their new defense fleet after Earth's hunters, Volth Squadron. Hawkwing, Tiger Lance. Even in the council chambers, once filled with doubt, ambassadors now spoke carefully when they said the word human. For the galaxy had learned a final truth. When the cry for help rises, Earth answers. And Earth does not answer with mercy. Earth answers with predators. Asterisk.